Join me in welcoming Barnum Financial Group's Chief Marketing Officer, Elizabeth Hiza, a rare moment here in Small Steps, Big Wins, a return guest. Elizabeth is here to talk about how they've built up the marketing department within Barnum Financial Group for the past 3 years to become the agency, a paid-for-service marketing model that continues to grow to this day. I'm Paul Blanco, and this is Small Steps, Big Wins. Elizabeth Hiza, welcome to Small Steps, Big Wins. You're back again. I told you I'd bring you back, but I didn't think it'd be this fast.
You did. Paul Blanco, it could not be more of a pleasure for me to be back. This show is doing phenomenal. I am a loyal listener myself, and I'm hearing comments about it all the time. So congrats to you and to your team, because Small Steps, Big Wins is such an important message. And it is just the epitome of you in general. So really congrats on what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I know that you're in pretty tight with our producers. So that's how you got back so quickly. I said like 2-3 years, and now I find you here today. So all joking aside, I know in the last episode, we truly talked about what you do in your day-to-day job as a CMO at Barnum, and the team that you have, and it's 10 plus people now and growing fast, and all the work you did. But what I really want to focus on today is about 24 months ago, you launched what we're calling the agency. Pretty unique name. I like the name. It seems like at Barnum, we say something and then that becomes the name, right? And we never change it because it gets branded. But for all the listeners out there, the agency, and I'll let you go deep on it, but the genesis of it is to help advisors with more specific stuff to help them grow their business. And I just want you to kind of give me the genesis of it and where it lands today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, the agency, which I'll go into, is our full service fee-based marketing division. So essentially, it is a marketing agency within Barnum Financial Group. And we service all the advisors within Barnum Financial Group and then advisors outside of Barnum as well.
Last time you talked about all the stuff you do for advisors. Just help me get some clarity out there for everybody. There's all basic packages that you do on a day-to-day basis that helps the masses. And then this becomes more of a specialized fee-based model that works for producers that were maybe thinking of using an agency outside, and you guys are able to do everything and have an advantage because you know a way around the system. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct. And maybe it would be helpful if I go backwards just a little bit to when, I moved from being your chief of staff and you put me back into the CMO role. The first thing I did was meet with a lot of top advisors at Barnum because I wanted to understand where marketing was lacking at that time. And all of your top advisors said the exact same thing to me. They said, marketing is too general. You're doing too many things for too many people. And it's kind of like a black hole. Now, that feedback, of course, hurt my heart in the moment. And I knew we had work to do, but it was so consistent. And they said it with such passion and such conviction. I had to listen. So I said, well, what would you do if you were me, if you were in my shoes? And they said, I'd immediately scale services and I'd work, I'd work with certain people. I'd work with the people who, are going to make an impact in marketing. And I knew what they meant by that. And what they were saying was, when we say marketing, that word is just general in and of itself. Marketing can mean everything from licking envelopes for a mailing to creating a social media profile, to writing a blog, to making a video, to everything under the sun. And it all does fall into that marketing bucket. And prior to 2020 or so, our department was trying to do all of those things. We were trying to be all things to all people with the very best of intentions. But as always, that just does not work. That's not an efficient way to run a business. That's not a scalable way to run a business. And in that process, we were failing because we were trying to be too many things for too many people.
Now, to run an agency like this and accomplish what you just said, is it set up that there's lots of people with different specialties on the team that So you have a breadth of all the different things that advisors might like.
Yep, you got it. So how the team was running was we had a bunch of just marketing generalists and we were separated by geography. So we changed that immediately and said, I need people who are experts in their marketing craft. So titans in their arena and their very specific area of marketing. So that could be content creation, content writing. That could be graphic design. That could be project management, campaign management. That could be videography, photography. But I knew I needed people who were experts in that space, who woke up every day just getting better in that one specific area of marketing. And then just like a symphony, just like a band, just like any team, we would have to come together as peers to create a very specific asset. Whether that asset was an email, whether it was a video, whether it was a blog, no matter what it was, all of the people in marketing were putting their talents together to create this one masterpiece, and that we were putting out to the field.
Well, it's interesting. As you're saying all that, I'm thinking of a story that I share all the time. I call it the tree story. And in the tree story is if you have a tree with all these branches on it, I fortunately get to sit at the top of the tree. And I don't mean the top because I'm the leader. Mm-hmm. I mean the top because as I meet with everyone and I get to hear all the advisors, what they're doing, I could use that to scale my thinking, where an advisor might sit on a branch mm-hmm. and see the person to his left and to the right mm-hmm. and maybe person underneath and above, but not the whole tree. Mm-hmm. Is that what's happening now? Because you're getting diversity of thought from all these advisors, and then you're able to even shape more because you're hearing all the top producers that are thinking very differently.
Absolutely. At that moment, that is what my role was to try to look at marketing from every different angle and create that perspective that the team needed at the time. And the advisors were spot on with what their recommendations were. They told me that we needed to scale, and they flat out said this to me: you're doing too much. You need to stop trying to do everything and limit your services. And I remember in the moment being like, how could they be saying this to me? How could they tell me we're doing too much? I think we should be doing more. But they were 100% correct. So I had that kind of going on in my ear. But then I had the experience of marketing, because even when I was your chief of staff, I really never left kind of that marketing role. I always had my fingers there per your request. And then my stint in marketing before that. But I also knew that, advisors would ask us for things. They would say, I need a bio. I need to create this video. I want to put this event on. And we would do all the work to make that happen. And then when it came time for the advisor to execute, they wouldn't do it. They were falling into maybe a perfectionist trap or a procrastination trap. But really, it was just lack of execution. It was just lack of confidence. They just weren't using what we were building. So that means that now we wasted all of this time, resources, effort to build these assets that were never getting used. So that was really frustrating from our standpoint. So I have that dynamic going on within the team. And then I have the dynamic of your top advisor telling me to scale. So I put those two things together and I said, hey, I think we need to start charging. And that is truly how the agency was born. And myself and my partner, Ian Kierzay. Ian, I don't think has been a guest on the show yet, but I'm sure he will. Ian has been with Barnum for over 10 years, always in a marketing role. So he knew firsthand exactly what we were experiencing, not having a lot of our marketing used, and the advisor saying we need to scale. So him and I together said, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to start charging for the work that we do. And the motivation behind charging was very, very simple.
Give it to me.
We knew that if there was an exchange of money, literally an advisor taking money out of their pocket and giving it to us, it would change the perspective of the work. The advisor would take the request more serious because now they were paying for it. And marketing would take the request more serious because we knew they were paying for it. The firm was not an intermediary. It was really between the advisor and between us. And we started really small. Ian started with, I think it was a video in a box where we would create videos for advisors. And that's really how one of the first products, one of the first services that we offered didn't take off too well. It could have been, Paul, at the time, our confidence was a little off. I don't know if we were really ready to do this yet, but then within a few months, an opportunity presented itself with one of the top teams here at the firm, and just the timing was right. And I asked them to be our very first client, and they accepted, and we negotiated a proposal, and they've been with us ever since the beginning. And that was truly the day the agency was born. It was October 2021. I'll never forget. And that they were our very first client.
That's interesting. And I know that, and we don't have to go deep on it, but I know there was a story that I've heard about people coming in and shooting videos, lots of them, and coming with 3 outfits and doing 8 videos and hours of editing. And then they never posted them, right? Mm-hmm. Back to your execution or the value, the trade of the money. So I think that spearheaded some of this.
100%, exactly. Whether it was videos, Ian tells that story because he does videos. My story is newsletters because I'm more into writing. But I remember an advisor asked us for 12 newsletters. He wanted to do a newsletter every month, and he wanted it to be 1,000 words. So I said, all right, no problem. And at the time I was just joking, but I said, it's going to be $200 a newsletter. And he's like, well, maybe I don't need that many. And I was only really just joking, trying to see the reaction from him. But immediately he changed his perspective. He changed his want when the money came into play.
Fair.
And again, it was at that moment that I knew that we were on to something.
It's amazing. So, as I coach a lot of advisors and work with them for many, many years, the one thing that I'm thinking as you're speaking is many of them come up with their plan. Like, I want to do this much production, and this is the product lines they're coming from. And I'm going to go to my book for this, and this is how many meetings I need. But very few advisors, I believe, in the industry actually sit down once a year and say, here's my marketing plan for 24 or 25 and on and every single year. So if I become a client of the agency, I'm visualizing that I start today, you do an assessment of where I'm at with your team. And then I'm building a marketing plan that I could still be subscribing, but subscribing for different, it's just progressive and going. Am I thinking about that the right way?
Yep, you got it. A lot of advisors put the plan together, but when you ask, okay, great, how are you going to do 10%, 15%, 20%, 25% more this year? How are you going to introduce that new product line to your clients? That's where I kind of get the shoulder shrugs, and that's where the agency comes into play. So typically when advisors come to us, they come to us and say, I don't really know what I need to do. And that's perfect. That's exactly why we're here, because we do know what to do. So what we do is, in a situation like that, we do a development meeting where we just sit and talk about what your business priorities are, what type of marketing you really like doing, why haven't you done that in the past, what stopped you, all those types of things. And then we put a plan together, and it's typically prioritized, because a lot of advisors see shiny balls, or they want to do everything at once, which could be a recipe for disaster. So we take it one step at a time, and we'll build them a year-long plan for their business and help them attack that plan.
Yeah, which is awesome. And when do you start if you're an advisor? I think I know the answer.
Anytime.
Yes.
Yesterday was the best time to start.
Even if you just need to get your website up and running.
Definitely. Yeah.
You talk about how that's the front door in our last episode. They need to have that done and then go on to the next thing. And I'm assuming that as they pay fees, the fees is based on the activity. So if I'm a brand new advisor, I'm spending a little bit. And as my business grows, I'm progressively spending more.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. So there's 3 ways advisors can work with the agency. One way is we have subscription packages. So that's kind of like a Netflix, right? You pay a certain amount a month and you get content to choose from, whether that's social content, whether that's blogs, whether that's videos, you get to pick whatever you want to put out there. Our next model is project work. So a project is anything that has a start and a finish. It could be a 3-minute video. It could be building you a website. It could be a welcome package. It could be a client service model, whatever it is. We'll determine what the beginning is and what the end is, and then we'll go ahead and execute for you. And then the third way advisors work with us is through a retainer model where they are truly hiring us to be their marketing arm. And we will do whatever work they want us to do on behalf of themselves and on behalf of their business.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you know, I'm thinking of this huge buzzword that's around in the last couple of years, and the word is scale, right? And for you to have 10 plus people that have different disciplines and different skill sets, if I was an advisor and I just wanted a marketing person on my team, not even a marketing CMO that has all of those skills that are made up of 10 plus people, it would cost me, you know, $60,000 to $100,000. I have to give them benefits. I have to, and then I have to manage them. I have to retain them. Where for 5 to probably 50%, it would probably never get past that. No. They're able to outsource that whole thing to you and your team.
You got it. And the thing about marketing now, Paul, that's a huge shift from 5-10 years ago is you cannot be a generalist marketer. So even myself, I have a lot of really wonderful marketing skills. I wouldn't be able to survive on my own if I didn't have the team, if I didn't have a very skilled content manager, if I didn't have a very skilled graphic designer, if I didn't have somebody very skilled with a camera. There's no way I could act on my own. So when an advisor hires a marketing generalist or a marketing person, they're not going to be able to do the job in full well by themselves. They're going to end up coming to us anyway to help with execution.
And it sounds like someone on their staff now can act more in a coordinator role.
Correct.
As not even a marketing coordinator. All they're helping to do is keep the project aligned between your team and the advisor.
Correct. And a lot of times we work directly with an advisor. Typically, you know, we work with a lot of advisor teams, and one person on the team is the marketing delegate. And they're the person that we primarily work with to help make decisions, help guide the projects, things like that. But it's typically one of the advisors who we're working with directly. Yeah.
So let's throw that word scale back to you. When you think of, you know, people are going to listen to this, and I'm sure you're going to get phone calls, them saying like, how do I get involved? And do I start here? Do I start here? Maybe I'm in the mid state and I want to go there and I hear what other teams and see what other teams are doing. But how do you keep scaling?
We're using as much technology, as much automation, as much AI as humanly possible. And the team is having a lot of fun doing that. So it's really a fun time just to be in business right now, but especially just to be in marketing right now.
So basically first technology.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming that as the agency grows, you'll continue to add people with different skills that are there.
Of course. And we're ahead of the puck for sure. We're always telling advisors where we think they need to go, but our advisors have a lot of amazing ideas. They're out in the field every day. They're working with clients every day. So I love hearing from them and them telling us what it is that they need to be successful. And I'm always amazed at the majority of the time, it's such simple things that they meant to always do all these years, but just never got around to it. Simple things like these onboarding packages, client onboarding packages. How do you make your clients feel special? How do you thank them properly for choosing you over somebody else? That falls under this marketing arena. And that's something that a lot of advisors always mean to put together, but they just never get around to it. And 10 years later, it's something you could maybe lose out to in the marketplace.
Well, it's interesting you just said that. So, you know, as I interview a lot of advisors, we talk about, you know, that March Sunday night of COVID and all the bad that happened and so much good that came of it in the business world, right? And when I think of the good, most advisors, the best, have went from seeing 20 clients a week to 40, but it's bigger than that. Those 20, there was downtime in between, meaning traveling, the train, maybe just in the office, maybe driving. And they would be able to think, get on the phone, maybe call your team. Today, with seeing 40 meetings, they don't have that downtime anymore. In fact, I walk around and everyone's on Zoom. And that's utopia. But I feel like this matters even more because of that. And they don't have that time anymore to even manage the process. Am I correct in saying
You're 100% correct that you need to make your clients, your team feel special, feel unique, get the very best of you, all while holding 10, 12 meetings in a day. And the only way to do that sometimes is through marketing, is through scaling, is through utilizing technology.
And outsourcing.
And outsourcing, exactly. And the advisors come to us for just two reasons. One is they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they need to do from a marketing standpoint. That's typically reason number one. Reason number two, they don't have the time.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. They know what they want. They know what they need, but they don't have the time to do it.
Well, interesting. And this is a statement for all the advisors out there. That growth we just talked about, meaning be able to double scale and use technology versus face-to-face, that they're not going to get that again.
Mm-mm.
So that double is not going to happen. So now it becomes a game of inches where if you're marketing properly, how do you get clients to the genesis of all marketing starts with, at least my belief is, out of sight, out of mind. So how do you continue to get clients to think about you when they think about their finances, and when they talk to a friend to refer you when they think of their finances?
Yep.
Am I correct in saying that?
Again, you're 100% correct. And I don't want to give a spoiler alert here, but we commissioned that study.
Yeah, tell them about it.
Well, where we polled over 1,000 working Americans about just financial planning and their financial advisor. And, of course, the number one way that people find their advisor is through a trusted source, through a trusted friend. So you're right. When our advisors have the opportunity to be referred, we want to make them 100% referable. And what that means is we have to make sure that they are top of mind for clients all the time. That whenever a client is asked if they know a financial advisor, we want our financial advisor's name, contact information, email address, social profile at the tip of their tongue. And the only way to do that is to always be there. And to make that happen in a not annoying way, but in a very memorable way, conscientiously by sending gifts, by having a really unique client experience, but also with some subtlety, posting on social just the right amount, sending out just the right amount of emails, having just the right amount of client events in a given year. All of that is done with purpose and structure so that we're always right there when a client needs us to be.
It's awesome. So we kind of brushed over it pretty quickly in the beginning. What's the advantage? And you went through a lot of them, but obviously advisors have choices, and that makes the world go round. What would be some of the differences of working with the agency here that sits at Barnum versus going outside? And I know there's numerous ones, but maybe you can share some of those.
Yeah, really great question. So this is going to sound corny, but I do believe it's the truth. Ian and I, both of our superpowers, I believe, is that we know financial advisors. We know how they think. We know what they're feeling. We know the words that are going to come out of the mouth sometimes before they say them. We're just really, really good at working with financial advisors, especially the financial advisors at Barnum. And I don't mean that Barnum's so special. What I mean is that, because I know it is, but that the advisors at Barnum want to grow, and growth is typically their number one priority. And we know that going into every conversation. So already we're both starting off at the same point. So honestly, I think that, and a lot of agencies can say that, but the truth is that between Ian and I, we have over 30 years of experience working with financial advisors.
Yeah.
So I think that's the number one. The number two, like I said, is one person, one agency isn't good enough. You're going to need an entire team of people with somebody at the helm who could make everybody work together. Yeah. So you're going to get that here. 3 is compliance is always there. It's ever present. We love our compliance partners. We value the work that they do, and we know the work that they do. So we know immediately going into a project where a compliance issue may arise, and we know how to work through it. Versus I've worked with agencies in the past, long, long ago, when you don't realize any of that stuff till the end of the project and you're in trouble.
Yeah. And I was hoping you went there because I think about myself as extremely entrepreneurial, extremely creative. If I owned a restaurant, which I never will, but if I did, there's no regulatory. I can go and do an ad and say, do this. And I've listened to this gambler, this mattress guy in, I think he's in Texas, that has this great pool that he runs. But in our industry, you can't do that. And by you cutting through the fat, you can meet. So what you just said, let me play it back, is you go to an agency, you give them this great idea, they get it all ready, you pay them, and then it gets shut down at compliance.
You got it.
That doesn't happen by sitting and understanding it.
You got it. You paid all this money. They did all the work. It, maybe by nobody's fault, but in the end, it's still the case. Or the project is now stalled for 6 months while you bring your compliance people up to speed. And by that time in the marketing world, the project could have timed out and it's useless anyway.
Yeah.
So in our world, we already know what we have to do from a regulatory and compliance standpoint to get the project through. And I love our compliance team. We work with them on the daily. And I can honestly say that they are phenomenal partners for us. And there's very, very few projects in my entire marketing career here that we have not been able to execute on from a compliance standpoint.
Yeah.
We typically go to them and we work through it together. But marketing takes that on. The advisor doesn't have to.
Yep. Great.
Yep. And then the fourth thing, Paul, that's important is going into all this where we are partners. This is a partnership. And again, that could sound corny, and I'm sure every agency would tell you that, but it's the truth. And what I mean by that is we are building these proposals together where everybody feels really comfortable. Knock on wood, since we've been doing this, we've never had a value issue. I've never had an advisor come back to me and say that wasn't worth the money that you charge or the money that we paid. Whenever we would have maybe a disagreement about, where the project ended, we would figure it out together. So that way, when we see each other in the hallway, everybody is still friends. When we go to an event together, everybody is on good terms. So we truly look at the advisors still as our clients, but also as our partners. We create every proposal with that in the back of our head.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned something else earlier. You mentioned AI. And I know that in conversations that you and I have had, I don't want to paraphrase it, but maybe you can just give us a simple answer on this. You said that AI used properly in marketing is a great asset, but becomes very dangerous if used wrong. I think that's kind of how at least I'm paraphrasing it in my own way. Give me a little bit on that.
So AI, you said it exactly. It is a wonderful, wonderful tool, but it is a tool that needs to be used correctly. So Michael, our content manager, we were literally just having this conversation about how we want to use it more, but it has to be used properly, meaning it will never replace a human, especially not anywhere on my team. And I don't think on any marketing team, but it will help us do our jobs better. So if, a lot of people would say, well, I'm not creative, Elizabeth. So can you write this email for me? Can you write this article for me? I'm just not a creative person. Well, to any human being, the worst part of any project is staring at a blank screen with that cursor just beeping. It's hard for anybody to get started with that. Well, that's where AI comes in. So AI can get you that momentum, and then a skilled human can go through and say, oh yeah, that was a great point, but now I'm going to add this. Now I'm going to add personal stories. And it's really the stories that sell in marketing.
But it's actually helping you, the tool is helping you to scale the 100%. Business, get started faster.
100%.
Really
and it's
awesome.
Fun. We're having so much fun as a team with some of the things that we can do with AI, with voiceovers, with photography, with writing. So we're really having a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, October of 21. So almost 2.5 years in. What's next?
The agency is going to continue to grow. I have objectives in mind. I have client objectives in mind. I have revenue objectives in mind. And of course, the team is going to continue to grow with it. But there's really no stopping us with how we're able to work with financial advisors. What you're going to see coming from the agency is a lot more in the personal branding space. You're going to see a lot more in the event space. Clients want to be educated, especially as the great wealth transfer happens. Clients are asking for more financial literacy, financial education. So we're going to do a lot more in the event space. Of course, we are constantly mastering the digital marketing space, always being in front of people digitally. So we are just making sure that we're always learning and loving life in the process.
It's great. And, when I think of this show that you brought up earlier, and thank you for those compliments that you gave, but if you advisors that are sitting there, think about having a marketing plan, taking some very small steps in your first year, then more small steps, more, and then that compounding of that over a 3-5 year period, you'll become well-known. You'll build a brand. You'll have clients reaching out to you. You won't have to worry about the servicing because it's turnkey, and they'll grow their business. So, make sure you reach out to Elizabeth and Ian and their team to take your small steps and get the big wins that you got. So
yes, don't worry. Don't worry if you don't know where to start. We will help you.
Yeah, which is, I think, the best part.
Yes.
Because I always said that they come in advisors and they think we have magic wands to help them grow. But the whole idea is take the first step and get started.
Yep.
So Elizabeth Hiza, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'm not going to make a comment about the next time you're coming on, but as you continue to grow this, I hope that we can get an update with them in the future. And thank you everyone for listening. Please give us 5 stars when you can, share it. And thank you for all that are listening now. I really love it. So, and everybody have a great day. Thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.